Hey everybody, welcome back to Weird Drum World. Today I want to introduce the Weird Drum World Book Club. In this series I want to show you some of my favorite books about drumming, music and art in general. Such lists are by default subjective, and for every category there are a ton of other books out there that might be equally interesting. So feel free to leave a comment if you've got other favorites. We will cover drum-specific books later on, but in this first episode I want to present a cross-section of categories, each of which will get a separate video in the future. So here are 5 books to hopefully inspire you to listen, create, practice and explore. There are many great artists' biographies out there, but this recent one neatly ties into my first 2 videos on this channel. Charnas' Dilla Time is a long overdue celebration of the life and times of the late great J.Dilla. I can't think of any person who was not a full-time drummer who has expanded the vocabulary of modern drumming in such a profound way. With his swag-feel programming, he almost single-handedly opened the space between straight eighth and triplet feel to all of us. He sadly died way too young in 2006, but with Dilla Time he finally got the book he deserves. A thoroughly researched and very well written book about his life, work and influence on modern music. Even if you're not a hip-hop head, you should definitely give this book a try. There's been a bit of a hype about books on creativity recently, and I will cover some of them in a future episode, but for this first list I picked a pretty new one. Rubin, who started out as a hip-hop producer, has moved on to metal, rock and finally transcended genre altogether with productions for everyone from Red Hot Chili Peppers to Johnny Cash. His most recent work is a book called The Creative Act. My first impression was of yet another book of aphorisms and clever lines about being yourself and getting into the flow. Maybe it was the short chapters or the big white space around the quotes, but I didn't expect too much from the book. Having finally read it, I have to admit that I was wrong. In the end, the short chapters make total sense, and all in all it is so far one of the best books on the subject. Its most important takeaway for me is that it manages to detach the creative act from the accepted notion of what constitutes success. It states again and again that all we can do is create the best we can in the most honest way, without thinking about the reception the finished work may or may not get in the end. In this time of American Idol and celebrity worship, this might be an unpopular thought, but it goes a long way to free you of the pressure to instantly produce successful work. Rubin makes it sound easy to be creative. This book will definitely inspire you to go out and find outlets for your own creativity. Even though it's placed in a different category, my next pick covers a lot of the same ground as Rick Rubin's book. But while The Creative Act is mainly about art in general, Werner's classic Effortless Mastery is squarely aimed at musicians and way more specific about how to approach your instrument. Don't let the slightly new agey tone at the beginning keep you from reading this book. There's a reason why it is extensively taught at Berklee College of Music, and it contains not only deep insights into why and how we play music, but also gives you a number of ways to make the most out of your practice time. I have reread it a couple of times and there's always something new to discover. And Werner can be very funny when he tries to tell you how not to take yourself and your music too seriously. It will definitely change the way you practice your instrument. There's hardly a genre of popular music nowadays that doesn't involve at least some drum programming. There's a good chance that if you listen to the top 10 most popular songs today, that you will not find a single acoustic drum track among them. We as drummers are now expected to have at least a basic knowledge of modern production techniques, and this is why I highly recommend the next book. Attack Magazine's The Secrets of Dance Music Production. Even if it is already a couple of years old, it will still give you a great overview of many of the production tools used in modern music. It covers a lot of ground, from basic music theory to how bass lines are built, drum programming to basic synthesizer technique, and it's all very well presented. It also includes practical examples of popular tracks with short tutorials and downloadable audio content. From his time in Talking Heads in the 70s and 80s to his most recent Broadway hit American Utopia, David Byrne has been a very influential musician for decades now. A couple of years ago, he wrote a book called How Music Works. Byrne cleverly ties together anecdotes of his long career with different aspects of music history and technology. There are chapters on songwriting, collaboration, the way technology shapes music, and he even breaks down his earnings on a self-released project. Another fascinating chapter deals with the way architecture influences the way we hear or perceive music. Like a college course on popular music, this book gives a great overview of different aspects of music making. To wrap up, let's just recap the 5 books recommended in this first episode of the Weird Drum World Book Club. Dan Charnas' Dilla Time, Rick Rubin's The Creative Act, Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner, The Secrets of Dance Music Production, published by Attack Magazine, and How Music Works by David Byrne. So my hope is that at least some of you will check out one or more of the books mentioned and that they will provide some help and inspiration on your musical journey. Thank you and see you in the next one.